Well, so that we don't really dwell much on this roads issue. Good enough, you're also a security consultant, and perhaps let's talk about security. You remember on that night, he was also asked why he did not visit some of those troubled regions, specifically places like Borno and Yobe that have been hit by the Boko Haram sect. Some felt not too good that because the president didn't quite give a direct answer to that. Instead, he talked about OD and some other issues. They say it has no meaning or relevance to the question asked on that night.
Yeah, in a way, there was no connect between OD and the issues of Damaturu, Yobe, and the Maiduguri. Okay, I'm sure he probably didn't hear the question very well. Otherwise, the answer would have been very different. But let me also say that at all times, he's the president of Nigeria. I don't expect him to be everywhere for every occasion. And that's the essence of having ministers and all these working with him. I want to believe that he must have people on ground who give him a feedback, on these things. Again, all the JTF and the other guys working there must be reporting to him on a regular basis. Besides, the reports might indicate that it's not safe for him to show up in those places. So what happens? He's going there to be killed. Won't solve the problem. So for me, it's not a matter of life and death.
It's possible he might be acting on some kind of security reports.
Because in security, you do what they call recce. You preview situations, and then you come with a position. If after that they think it's not safe for him to be there, for God's sake, if I'm president, I will not go. He must be alive to solve our problems. Killing him, we're not looking for a matter anyway. Killing him will not solve the problem. So for me, it doesn't make a difference. He knows so much about me. His death is updated on issues happening in that place, as in everywhere in Nigeria.
So far, how would you say, or how would you rate all of this talk about faceless and not being faceless? There's going to be dialogue, no dialogue, and what we've seen so far. You just talked about JTF and some other security operatives that have been trying to nip all of this or curtail the excesses of this particular cult group.
Again, the issue of Boko Haram, which I addressed in November while on the program here, and I said, human community, we always have people of influence, okay? They could be of influence at the time they are being rich or religion or due to dynasty or something. Those are the critical elements in resolving a war situation like this now. For me, it's a war situation, and those ones will have been contacted to do the legworks, so to say, because if you look at the issue of the official Boko Haram spokesperson, today they say he's arrested, tomorrow another person comes and says he's not arrested, that's this person. So largely they remain faceless. It becomes an issue now when those who have been nominated by Boko Haram to stand in for them are saying they don't know Boko Haram, they have no link with them. I mean, of all persons, General Buhari came out and said he doesn't know them and that he has no belief in their style of operation. Therefore, he can't stand in for them. So you cannot negotiate. You are talking to me because you can see me. If you can't talk to me. So I think if they truly want the issues resolved, they want peace back in the land, the people of influence in those regions should assemble themselves together and get working.
Let me remind you, as we also talk about this media chat, you remember there was a time also from the presidency that they know these people, and we also got news that some of them were also infiltrating the government or have infiltrated the government. So if we had that information, then maybe we have some faces or even names.
Just like you, I read that. Remember that lately, a commander of Boko Haram was said to have been arrested in the senator's house. That is being debated now. The senator is being tried, if you remember, Udume, for having connection with Boko Haram. But he's not been convicted. Maybe if he's been convicted and then they've established that he has links with them, it might be the necessary lead to Boko Haram. Okay? And Zana is denying that the Boko Haram man was picked from his house. Instead, they are saying they should go and pick Ali Modu Sharif, the former governor of the state. All this backpassing leaves you with no option at all, because it's like there are so many paths to follow now. So which one is the path? until they can come out and say, okay, we are, and then there can be discussions. You don't talk to faceless people or ghosts.
Okay, what about just before the media chat, there were reports that one of the aides of the president said they were already in dialogue. I mean, doesn't that say there's a disconnect within the presidency or the team, the presidency?
You know, managing Nigeria is not as easy as managing a family. It's a very complex nation. And within the organs of government, everybody wants to be seen to be relevant. Sometimes out of overzealousness, okay, they out-talk themselves. Okay? A good case in point, this is Manitoba thing. Lately, Abati came on here and said it's been cancelled. Yeah, all of us had it. But you had presidents saying that it's not been cancelled. Okay? So, I mean, you cannot afford to have these cases. There are slips anyway, but they still occur.
But what's those kind of slips? What do they say of the team the president has?
You want to say, I said, it does not translate to lack of coordination. No. I said it could be a case of overzealousness. Okay? It happens. I've seen somebody talking on an issue that he has no connection or knowledge of, and was claiming to be a part of it just to score some cheap points or whatever. It happens.
But in all of this chat, I mean, other than this one, which matter stood out for you that you felt, yeah, Nigerians really needed to hear him speak on that matter? Anyone?
Well, the issue of the petroleum industry, you know, though I would have expected him to have been stretched a little bit further. But like I said, he was responding to questions.
Does it mean he couldn't speak on matters?
The people, interviewers, ought to have asked more specific questions on the way forward for us. For instance, President said subsidy is one major reason why we don't have private investors investing in refinery, okay, and that they're going to sustain it. Does that now mean that people will not come to invest in the industry?
No, what's it the part he was? I think they had brought up the fact that if there was going to be a removal or not, and so he put it in context.
He has said they made provision in the budget.
2013 budget,
okay?
Yes.
To that extent, we can still say we'll have subsidy. But the question is, that does not address the possibility of an increase in price or not. So if there's an increase in price, the price is still justified. He has not mentioned anything on that. Okay? Then the issue of whether it's contesting or not contesting, it makes good sense for him to say that they should give him space to work. Because anything he says will ignite some reactions. And before you know, his government could be destabilized, because if like 4 ministers should resign and say, hey, he's not contesting, I want to contest, they go and take up the race.
But this fuel subsidy matter, do you think it's a question of time that is going to be eventually removed? Or
I still think we're not getting it right. And this lack of political will.
how?
Okay? We must sit down. Good enough, he said, he used Canada as an example. Canada has 16 refineries. We have only 4. Considering the population and everything, it's not okay. It doesn't gel. Okay? Until we get to where we can sit down and say we want to build new refineries. We have the resources. If we must even borrow to do that, I'm not going to do that. The ones we have are old.
Yeah, but when
and
you
so
say
much has gone into
licenses were given for refineries.
people are given licenses, but they could not, because you know the way it works. If they have to come, it's cheaper importing and selling as against coming to set up the facilities to, start producing. Okay? So if government is ready to encourage, it's not just giving license now. There are other issues, that should be considered holistically, whereby people can say, okay, let's go.
Does it make it tenable or justifiable that we're not refining petroleum products in the country? Or that the refineries are not functioning?
No, not at all. Again, the issue of sabotage also comes in. Don't forget, you and I are not oil and gas experts. The critical people who know all of these things are the ones working behind the scene. I remember the last 2, 3, 4 years, you see guys with community cards, they tell you they're into oil and gas, and you ask them, what aspect of oil and gas? They cannot explain. So there are so many channels in that industry that creates room for all sorts of tendencies, both corruptive and destructive, making things not to work.
So it means that more powerful than government? Government cannot handle them?
Everywhere, all over the world, in civil, anywhere you have civil governance, you always have people like a cartel or mafia doing these things. It's not peculiar to Nigeria, it's a global thing. So the issue is still that government must come up with stronger positions to counter them.